Hi. Before we can get started doing all of the cool analysis that we get to do with cost, volume, profit analysis, the first thing we have to do is separate our fixed costs from our variable costs and figure out a way of doing that. So we are going to use the high-low method. And the thought behind this is if we can identify the period that has the highest level of production, and we know the number of units and the costs, and we can identify the period that has the lowest level of production, and we can identify the units and the costs. Then we can do some fancy math around all of that and figure out what is our variable cost and our variable cost per unit and what are our fixed costs. And that's exactly what we're going to do. All right, so I have got a year's worth of data for our company. And so first thing we have to do is identify which is the high period of production and which is the low. So if I look, looks like November may be our high period of production. And we'll just highlight that in yellow. And it looks like our low period of production is probably June. So just highlight that in green. Okay, so the highest period of production, we made 67,500 units for a cost of $31,000. In our lowest period of production, we made 17,500 units at a cost of $18,500. All right, ready for some magic? Let's do it. Okay, so our high number of units is 67,500, and our low number of units is 17,500. Our high amount of costs is 31,000, and our low amount of costs is 18,500. Okay, so now we want to look first at the change of cost. Okay, how much did costs change between making 17,500 units and 67,500 units? So our costs in our high period were 31,000 minus our costs in our low period, which were 18,500. So it cost us an additional $12,500 to make. Let's see what our change in units was. So our high units was 67,500 minus our low units of 17,500. Okay, so for an extra $12,500, our change in costs, we were able to make an additional 50,000 units. Change in volume, change in units. Okay, so if we take our change in cost and divide it by the change in units, that gives us the variable cost per unit. So change in cost was 12,500 divided by change in units of 50,000. So our variable cost is 25 cents per unit. Because basically we know that in June, November, and all of these months, our fixed costs were the same. So the difference in costs must all be variable. And so if we divide the change in cost by the change in units, then we get the variable cost per unit. Okay, so the total cost is the units produced times the variable cost, or the total cost minus the units produced times the variable cost per unit is the fixed cost. So basically we're saying is total cost minus total variable costs, and our total variable costs are the number of units produced times the variable cost per unit. Total cost minus total variable cost equals our fixed cost. Now we can calculate this either using the high numbers or the low numbers. We don't have to do both, although in your homework I'm going to make you do both. But either way will work. It's going to come up with the same number, and so let's go ahead and test that. So our total costs in our high period was 31,000 minus our total number of units, which was 67,500 times our variable cost per unit, should equal our fixed cost of 14,125. I'm going to use the low number just to check my answer. So in the low period, our total costs were 18,500 minus total number of units produced, 17,500, times our variable cost per unit of 25 cents. And it comes out 14,125. So I feel pretty good about that. So our fixed costs were 14,125 every single month. 14,125 was our fixed cost. Everything above that's variable. And our variable cost is 25 cents per unit. So now we've separated our fixed and variable costs, and we can start going and doing some cost volume profit analysis. You're going to have to click on the next video to make that happen. I will see you there.